So I'm a little bit late to the party here, but I figured today I'd share with you my thoughts on PyScript and run you through a few quick demos of how you actually use this in your HTML code. Now, if you're unfamiliar with PyScript, this is something that is brand new. From what I know, it came out a few months ago, and I just heard about it actually a few weeks ago, hence why I'm making the video now. And this lets you pretty much inject Python code and run it in the browser in your HTML document. Now, you can import Python files, you can import Python modules, you can do stuff like display a Matplotlib graph like directly on the HTML page, you can generate random numbers, you can get values from input fields or change document tags. It's pretty cool even in the very early and alpha stage that it's in right now, and I think it's something we can hopefully look forward to in the future. With that said though, let me just hop over to Visual Studio Code. I'll give you a few quick demos. Hopefully you'll get a sense of what this can do, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on PyScript in the comments down below. So before we get into the video, I will mention that if you don't already know Python, you should check out ProgrammingExpert.io from the link in the description. This is a course that I created with the Algo Expert team. In my opinion, it's one of the best resources to learn how to code and get to a software engineering level as fast as possible. It teaches Python, Go, and a bunch of other skills like software engineering tools, software design, etc. If you guys want, check it out from the link in the description and use discount code TIM. So I'm here in Visual Studio Code. You can see I have an HTML document right here. And then on the side of my screen, I have that HTML document open so I can actually view kind of the contents of the page. Now, to use PyScript is super simple. All you have to do is inject these two lines of code or place these two lines of code into the head tag of your document. You can get them right from the PyScript website, which I'll leave in the description. And you actually don't need the style sheet, but some of the output from this PyScript tag looks weird and it gets restyled with this sheet. So you can remove this if you want. I'll just leave it in for now. Really, all you need is this script here, and it lets you actually use this PyScript tag and start writing some Python code. So right away, you can see that what I'm doing is printing hello world. Now, since I'm doing that, that's actually the output from this tag, and then it's showing up here on the page. And then I'm also just writing to an HTML tag. So I have a p tag with ID equal to text. And then I'm saying PyScript.write. I'm writing to the, I guess, what do you call it, element or document element with ID text, and then I'm writing x plus 1, x is 0, and so I get 1. So pretty simple, but that's the basics of PyScript. This is how you use it. You don't need to install anything. You literally just put this script thing in the head of your tag, and then it works. I'll show you a few other demos here, but in case you're wondering how I get this to live update, I'm using something called Live Server here. It's an extension in Visual Studio Code so that I don't actually have to keep refreshing this page. Every time I make a change, it just updates over here. So anyways, that is the most simple demo I can give you. That is PyScript. That's as easy as it is to get started with it. And the next thing I'll show you is using like NumPy, importing a Python module, etc. So I've just loaded up another example here, and you can see that I'm actually viewing a scatter plot that I created with Matplotlib. Now, this example is actually directly from the PyScript documentation, but you can see that what I'm doing here is actually using the contents from a local Python file that I have, and I'm also declaring the different modules that I'm going to be using inside of this Python script. So not all of the modules are supported, but right now NumPy, Matplotlib, most of your common Python modules do actually work with PyScript, so I can do something like create a Matplotlib plot. So here I'm importing Matplotlib, I'm importing a function from this data.py file that I have in the same directory, and then I'm just creating a plot and just outputting that. Now, the way I'm outputting that is by writing the name of the plot, and by doing that inside of the PyScript tag, it actually shows up on the screen. Now, if I were to say comment this out, then I believe that's going to go away. And let's see here. And if it loads, you can see that this is, again, in a very early stage. This does take actually a really long time to work. Then it goes away. Okay. Now here, I've just said the output is going to be plot, which means whatever the output of this PyScript tag is goes to this div. So it's going inside of there. And the reason I'm able to use these modules is because I declared them inside of PyEnv, right? I put NumPy, Matplotlib, and then I have a local module. So I said paths and then /data.py. Now I'm able to actually use this file, and then I can do whatever I want inside of here. Now, one thing to note is that inside of your PyScript code, you can actually use JavaScript code. So I can just go console like this, .log, and let's just say hello. Now you have to be careful when you save this because the auto formatter, I have one enabled, it will like mess up all your Python code. But But now if I go to inspect and I go to the console, we should see that we get a hello once this actually loads up. Okay, so let's give it a second here to finish. And there you go. We can see we get hello. We have our plot showing up here. And yeah, any valid JavaScript code just works inside of here with your Python code. So there you go. That is example 2. Let me load up one more. All right, so I've just loaded up example number 3, and here I've created a random number guessing game where I've used almost all just Python code to do this inside of PyScript. So let's just try this. I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and okay, I got it in 5 guesses, so correct, you took 5 guesses, and it says guess the number in range 1 to 10, and then I can restart. And there you go. So I'm interacting with the DOM elements. I'm changing different fields. Like I'm changing the 0 to 1, 2, 3, etc. And I'm getting the value from this input field and then linking a Python function to the press of a button. So I'll show you how we do that. Of course, I have my script here. Notice I did not put the style sheet. If I put the style sheet, it makes my form look all weird. So I just remove the style sheet. I don't need it there. And then what I've done is created a little, I guess, form, or I guess the document elements, whatever you want to call this, where I have guess the random number of guesses that I'm displaying. I have an input field and then 2 buttons and a place where I am showing the result. So what I need to do for this to work here is I actually needed to link the button presses here to a Python function. And the way that you do that is using these 2 modules. So you have to create a proxy between a JavaScript event to a Python function call. Sounds complicated, but it's really not that bad. So I have from JS import document, from whatever this module name is, import create proxy, and then I'm importing random. So I just create a random number here at the top. I have guesses equal to 0. I'm sure you guys can read this Python code yourself, but I just global number and guesses. Yes, that's bad practice, but I just wanted to show you how this works. And then I create a new number if you restart, and I reset the guesses to 0 while clearing what I'd written on the screen. So I clear the result and then rewrite this back to number of guesses 0. Now down here, what I actually needed to do is, again, create this proxy. So I say my guess proxy is equal to create proxy, and then I put inside of here guess. Now guess is the function that I want to create the proxy for, so I'm putting the name of my Python function. And then I say my guess button is equal to document.getElementById, and then guess button. The reason I can do that is because I'm saying from JS import document, and then I get access to that element. Then I'm going to say guess button.add event listener, just like I would in JavaScript. I'm listening on click, and then what I'm going to do is call the guess proxy. So since I've created the proxy, it will then actually call the guess function and run that Python code. Same thing for the restart proxy and the restart button. It's just changed to be the ID of the restart button. But yeah, we can look in here. So I have global guesses plus equals 1. I then get the input field. So to do that, you just have element. You put the name of, or the ID of the element, and then dot element to access that. And then I say text is equal to imp.value, just to get the value from that input field. I then clear the input value, and I'm checking if the text, which is this right here, is equal to the number that we created, the random number, right? If it is, then I'm going to say, okay, you got that correct with number of guesses. Otherwise, I'm going to write wrong. And then no matter what, I am going to write an updated number of guesses. So there you go. That is it for creating a random number guessing game. I know this seems probably trivial and pretty easy to you guys, but I just wanted to show you kind of what you can do with PyScript in a really short video and give you a quick introduction to this cool thing. So now that we've looked at the demo, let me just share with you my thoughts quickly. I think that this is cool, right? And that's really the best way for me to describe it. I don't think it's very useful, but it definitely is interesting. I had fun kind of playing with it for 20 minutes before this video. And if I was going to do something really simple, or maybe I was teaching a beginner how to program and we wanted to create a basic user interface or something along those lines, then PyScript seems like kind of a cool way to go. For example, here, I created a random number guessing game where you actually have buttons to press. You have an input field, and you saw it was relatively simple. It was what, like 20 lines of code or something like that. Whereas if I were to do this just in standard Python, I wouldn't really have a user interface. I'd just have the terminal, and it wouldn't be as interactive or as interesting maybe for a beginner to see kind of what they've created. So that's really where I see the value here. When you're learning how to program, this could be cool because now you can actually visualize what you're doing in a web browser and kind of mix a bit of HTML with your Python code. But beyond that, again, I just can't really see myself writing Python code in the browser as opposed to just writing JavaScript. If this does get better, if it gets faster, if it has more features, I'll definitely try it again and maybe create some cool projects with PyScript. But for now, I think this is really more of I don't want to say a gimmick, but just kind of a cool thing that you can do. It's probably useful for learning, and some of you guys are probably going to try this out after just because you think it's interesting. Beyond that, though, I wouldn't use this in production code, and in fact, it actually says on the PyScript website, do not use this in production because it's very alpha, it's very slow, it's kind of, like clunky in a sense, and it has a long way to go. Anyways, though, I think this is interesting. If you guys want to see some videos on PyScript in the future, then let me know. I wouldn't be opposed to making a few kind of beginner projects with PyScript with a nice user interface, maybe some JavaScript or CSS animations or something like that that could be triggered from Python. Maybe that's something cool that we can do on the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. With that said, though, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.